afternoon and welcome back to Coffee with a Kick. I am still Xander, Fadely that is, and that is Keegan York. Doing some last names today. We're getting towards the end of the season, you know, make things a little bit more formal, make sure we're staying tight, and as the year runs down, some of these teams actually are keeping it tight as we'll go through this weekend action, stretching all the way back to last Thursday through to yesterday, Monday, with some very intriguing results. Why don't we say we just hop right on into it then, huh?
Let's do it.
All right. Well, starting off all the way almost a full week ago, last Thursday, we had one of those lovely London derbies. Chelsea hosted Tottenham Hotspur, and Chelsea took the honors in this one, 2-0. Truly a very tidy 2-0 for Chelsea. Came out with a lot more in it than I thought they would. Both these sides are... Well, Tottenham is technically the only team that had anything to play for in this match, is what we were talking about. So we were hoping that they would do it. But they... Postecoglou, that's their manager, right? Tottenham's manager. That's Postecoglou, right? Am I right on that? Yeah. He kept Maddison on he's benched Maddison, who was so good earlier in the season. And it was a big talking point when they did the match. And he kept him on the bench. And I felt like he was missing out there because there wasn't a lot of good attack on Tottenham's side. And Chelsea really handled the match pretty thoroughly throughout there at Stamford Bridge, with getting the 24th minute Chalobah goal and before the halftime, and then didn't make any adjustments at half, even though Tottenham had played flat all half. No adjustments at halftime for Postecoglou, and it showed. I mean, nothing really fixed. And Nicholas Jackson got his 72nd, and it was pretty smooth sailing from there for Chelsea.
Yeah, this was, the third straight match. I think Tottenham has played more like Burnley than Tottenham has played more like Tottenham. A lot of possession, some chances, but really no creativity whatsoever. So Chelsea took advantage of a sliding Tottenham team. And, I mean, obviously Chelsea didn't have a lot to play for then. But turns out this victory, along with what we'll talk about in a minute, honestly sets them up for potential extra football next season. I don't know. They're close to it if Tottenham keeps sliding.
Yeah, they could. Yeah, we'll get to that there in a second because it kind of plays into the second half of their fixtures because they both played twice, again on Sunday. But before we get there, we do have to get into technically what begins this match day, which was last Friday, with Luton Town facing Everton. Another match with a lot of importance in it. Let me get down to my notes for it. There it is. 1-1 draw there at Kenilworth Road. A missed opportunity for Luton to really put the pressure on the rest of the relegation sides with a beatable Everton team.
Yeah, I felt like Luton missed an opportunity, like you said. This was theirs to win. Mm-hmm. The penalty, obviously unfortunate, but they get it back in the 31st. And after that, it just felt like Everton was slowly closing the door. One of those movie scenes where the door is slowly closing and you think the guy is going to get through. No, Luton gets stuck in the middle and their hopes have been cut in half. Not completely over, but they've been cut in half. And that's a big blow at home, especially given there's only 2 games left now.
Yeah,
they're going to need some help to stay up.
It's kind of a mixture of the opening scene in Indiana Jones when the wall's coming down, he has to go back in and get his hat, and the end of Godfather Part 1, where Michael Corleone is sitting at the table and his wife's standing outside and they slowly close the doors. That's like, you could see the Premier League, all the teams in the Premier League for next year sitting behind those doors. Luton Town, Sheffield United, and probably Burnley sitting outside the door, slowly closing on them till, we might see some of these teams later on. Luton Town and Burnley, I think, have a decent shot of getting back up next season. Sheffield, I think, has the most work to do. I mean, they're obviously the worst team of the 3, but a little bit more organization from Burnley, a little bit more. There are fewer pieces missing from Burnley, I feel like, than any of the other 2 teams. I feel like they're just missing that one playmaker. and they could get back up with relative ease. But we won't. We're getting ahead of ourselves now. I'm getting us ahead of ourselves because that was Luton and Everton drawing 1-1. That takes us to Arsenal and Bournemouth. This one, not a lot to say about this one. Arsenal handled business. It was pretty straightforward from them. There were a couple chances that Bournemouth had early on, but Arsenal pretty much handled the whole match.
Yeah, I feel like Bournemouth, 7 shots, 2 on target. Probably 6 of those shots, 4 of the ones that weren't on target were like a hair off target. Mm-hmm. They had a few really good chances. They just couldn't convert. But yeah, from minute 20 to minute 1 to minute 20, Arsenal's match. 20 to 25, a little bit of Bournemouth. 25 to 45, Arsenal. It just kind of felt that way. Bournemouth had a couple of 5-minute pockets, but Arsenal is getting the job done, and they're basically telling City, you're going to have to win the rest of the matches to win the league.
To win it easily. Well, yeah, because I think Arsenal has a pretty substantial goal difference advantage still, right? Well, not after. Well, we'll get to that in a moment, but it's not as substantial as it once was.
Yeah.
Then we move from Arsenal and Bournemouth to Brentford and Fulham. Now, this game, I think we both kind of got correct, just on opposite sides. Neither of these teams are playing for anything at this point. And a 0-0 draw kind of speaks to that. You thought they were going to have more fun, play a little bit more free. I was on the more downtrodden side. Ended up being more along the lines of mine. not a lot of flash or flair in this one.
Yeah, nothing happened. I mean, if you were thinking about watching the extended highlights, I don't even bother. Nothing happened. Couple of shots on target, but other than that, it was a snoozer. Clearly, two teams that, hey, we're not going to make our summer teams. We're probably not going to get transferred out. So let's just do our best to get a point.
Yep, let's go in. We're getting paid either way. Let's move on to the next one. Then we move to Burnley, hoping to maybe put some moves on the bottom of the table. Not coming through in the end. They lose 4-1 to Newcastle at Turf Moor. It was resurgent Newcastle all of the sudden. This is Newcastle we saw in the first part of the season and last season, more than it was from, I don't know, like after that international break in November on. This is the first time that they've looked back to kind of that form that we've seen them in recent history.
Boy, I mean, losing 4-1 in one of your last home matches, potentially in the Premier League for at least the next year, that was bad. And it wasn't that Burnley played terrible. The goals they gave up were just kind of easy gimmies. The Bruno one in the 40th minute to really seal it, they just couldn't clear it. And it falls right to him, rifles it in. It a bit unlucky, but really Burnley just couldn't get it together defensively to keep the goals out, and that it doesn't help their hopes of staying up.
Certainly not. They've got to win out is what they have to do. They have to win this upcoming weekend and then win the last match day because they're playing Nottingham Forest in the last match day, which is, a good and a bad thing. Mostly good because if you beat them, you're basically through. Depending on what Luton does. But if you can win out, I don't know if Luton can. There's the matchups for the bottom of the table teams this upcoming match day, which we'll get to later this week, are not great looking at the form of some of the teams that they're playing. Then we go to the aforementioned Nottingham Forest, taking care of the Sheffield United's Blades 3-1, overcoming an early penalty mistake. The 17th minute, Sheffield United does get a goal. You think maybe, hey, Nottingham Forest, you're kind of in trouble here. You're at Bramall Lane. This team has, is nothing to play for except for spoiler. Maybe they want to bring you down with the ship. No, Nottingham Forest keep themselves calm. Hudson-Odoi gets himself a brace there on both sides of the half. With a 51-minute goal from Ryan Yates splitting them up. They rebounded and looked like they're competent enough to stay up. as much as I did not think they would be going into the season.
Yeah, Sheffield played probably one of their best games of the season. I'll be really honest, stats-wise, and just the way they flowed.
Yeah.
Really, I thought, especially after the penalty, that my prediction was going to come true. They were going to play spoilers.
Yeah.
But Nottingham, I mean, they dug deep, put their heels in the ground. They said, we're not going to lose to quite possibly one of the worst Premier League teams in history. But we're definitely not going to let this be the reason why we don't stay up. So they got the job done. Kudos to them. It's in their hands now.
Yeah.
Because really, if they get a point out of next week, it's virtually over just due to goal difference. So if they can keep up and just get a draw, it's in their hands. We'll see what happens.
We will see what happens. But speaking of another team that didn't end up playing it, spoiler, my Wolves do fall rather abysmally to Manchester City, 5-1.
You were spot on.
Well, I was spot on, and then he just kept scoring. Erling Haaland with 4 total goals in this match day, 2 of them penalties, 2 of them run of play. And then also, you almost had it spot on, 4-1, but then Julian Alvarez had to ruin it in the 85th and get a really annoying, silly goal to ruin your perfect pick.
I know. Did I think that when he scored? Absolutely.
Yeah.
I was hoping Sa would be able to paw it away, but
I had marked it as a perfect pick. I was like, you know what, 84th minute, there's no reason for them to score again. I'll go ahead and circle that. And then he goes ahead and does it. I'm like, I do these in marker. I gotta mark this out now.
They did point out in Alvarez's finish just the sheer difference between him and Haaland. Because Alvarez's finish is cool, barely lifts off the ground into the bottom corner. Haaland's are like, I'm going to shoot it top left, top right. I'm going to shoot from near outside the box. They're just different strikers, but I'm glad he got a goal. Am I glad my perfect pick was ruined? No. But he's got his confidence up. We're going to need him these last 4 weeks, so I'm okay with it.
Yeah, I'll take a goal too. I mean, Huang got a goal, so we did get blinked.
A Huang goal.
You did. We were all over this one. Played out pretty similar to how we were thinking. Then to one that neither of us got right. So this one did not go the way because Brighton. Okay, so we're back to Villa not wanting to be a good team and keep their position, right? They didn't want to be first back in December. They just didn't want to win games that would put them in first. Now they don't want to stay in fourth. The only problem is that Tottenham keeps losing, so they maintain position. This one to Brighton, 87th minute João Pedro goal lifts Brighton shockingly over Aston Villa at the Amex.
Yeah, Brighton, they're sitting in 11th, nothing to play for except maybe a top 10 finish. At one point, they were first in the Premier League. I think they were 5 for 5 first 5 weeks. This felt like that kind of Brighton team. Because even though it was only 1-0, and in the beginning they were scoring a lot, they played defensively like I thought Aston Villa would. Like they controlled the match, stifled any counterattacks. Yeah, it was a weird and awkward match for Aston Villa. It kind of looked like they saw Tottenham lose on Thursday and felt like, we can drop this one. It'll be okay. So I don't know what happened though, but Brighton winning 1-0, it was a wild stat line.
Yeah, didn't have that one on the books at all. That wraps up the Saturday matches, moves us into Sunday with, that was a Sunday match. Sorry. That was the first Sunday match, simultaneous with Chelsea keeping it ripping and roaring, 5-0 victory over West Ham. Like, where has this Chelsea team been? You know what I'm saying?
This match I have a problem with. Mainly due to West Ham's response to losing 5-0 and firing David Moyes.
Really? I did not
David
see
Moyes
that.
in the last 3 years has gotten them their top 2 best finishes ever in the Premier League. He has one of the best win percentages of a manager during that 3-year period. He took over for them when they were 1 point above relegation, about to be relegated. And he loses 5-0. They're on a little bit of a slide. They're still in top 10, but Yeah, they let him go. They're going to let him finish out the season.
Okay.
Crazy match. And then they just won the European Conference League, whatever that last tier of the Europa League Champions League is. They just won their first trophy. So, yes, you get beat 5-0 by a Chelsea team that's been more volatile than that ant that always comes to Thanksgiving. But it happens sometimes. It happens. Chelsea, they're good. They dominated, but firing David Moyes, I think he might be back for a third spell. Give it 6 months. I think he walks back in the door.
Yeah, I mean, it was, they won 5-0, which reads bad enough, but it was a 70-30 split for possession, 14 shots on target to 2 shots on target, 25 total shots to 13. I mean, doubled them up on touches, more than doubled them on passes. It was a thrashing in this in this other London derby. Was this like the northwest, southeast? I don't know. The Twin Bridges. I don't know what you call this one. I could find it if I Googled it, but I don't want to at the moment. So we'll just leave it as it was rough. And then we go to another rough result. Liverpool beats Tottenham Hotspur at 4-2, which further dampened. And really, it was worse than that for the most of this match. It was 4-0 by the 60th minute. And then they had a brief little burst of talent in the 72nd and 77th for Tottenham, bringing it back to 4-2, which is more respectable. But, you know, it wasn't – they outpossessed, but it wasn't like they were really in the match to win it.
Again, Tottenham playing just like Burnley, going down 4-0 by the 60th minute. Tottenham ended up getting 2 goals instead of 1 late. But, I mean, they had the possession. They kicked it around in the back. And they kind of just let Liverpool press and get whatever they wanted. Like it, similarly to the Chelsea match, this probably ought to have been worse.
Yeah.
Because it was just Liverpool not converting some chances. But, yeah, I don't know what is going on with Tottenham. I hope it continues to get worse, at least until, let's say, the match day 38. You know, maybe match day 37 they decide, we'll keep playing bad for Man City's sake. But I don't know what's going on with them. I don't think they're going to fire their manager, but they definitely are really trying to get to the end of the season because unless they win out and Aston Villa lose out, Champions League is over. Yeah. And then now they have Man U and Chelsea on their heels for Europa League. So if they keep the slide going, they might miss out on European football next year.
Well, yeah, they've only got 4 points on Newcastle right now. So yeah, they've got to convert here. Luckily, they have Burnley up next, so that's I say that, but Burnley's playing for their Premier League lives, so they're going to pour as much as they can into that match.
Yeah,
and so from Burnley's perspective, they're catching Tottenham right where they want them because they're on a 4-game slide by Tottenham. How often have you seen that in the past couple seasons? That is tough, and ugly ones too. 4-0. 3-2 against Arsenal. That one was an entertaining match. But then 2-0, which could have been worse, and 4-2, which could have very easily been 4-0 for Liverpool. A rough patch for Liverpool, for Tottenham. And we'll see if they can pull themselves out of the tailspin. Then to the last match of this match day from yesterday. Once again, Crystal Palace. We don't know what you're doing, Crystal Palace. 4-0 victory here over Manchester United and embarrassment for Manchester United. Never really had a chance. I mean, 12th minute, Crystal Palace gets the first goal. They've hung 2 on you by half. Follow up within 15 minutes of halftime with another goal. And then 10 minutes after that, Olise makes it a brace. And United, 2 shots on goal the whole time. Speaking of really petering out the last bit of the season.
Yeah, this was enjoyable to watch. I mean, Crystal Palace, they look like they're at the same level as Man City and Chelsea and Man City and Arsenal, at least right now. I mean, they're blowing teams away on the offense. They're playing good defense. Can they sustain it any longer than 3-4 match days? Probably not. But we've seen them the last 5 match weeks. I think they've been outscoring Man City, at least as far as goal difference in the past 5. And City's playing amazing. So, I don't know, competition might speak to that, but I mean, beating Man U 4-0 after Man U's been playing pretty decent, that's awesome. And this virtually puts Man U out of European football for next year. I confused Man U for Newcastle earlier, but yeah, I mean, Man U's kind of out of European football now. Crystal Palace is just playing spoiler to everyone they're playing. So, but this was a Monday night beatdown.
Man U making my 4th place pick for them look real silly here at the last bit of the season. I do remember that. I haven't gone back and looked at what we picked at the beginning of the season, other than both of us having, I think, City win. Not making me look very good right now. Tottenham, you too. I think I had you in 2nd. So, great. That's 2 of my top 4 that are not up there. But that brings us, that is the match day that was match day 36 for most. City and Tottenham and Newcastle and Chelsea. Oh, okay. Now there's plenty of teams that still have a match to make up here in not this midweek, but the next, which we will get to as the time is appropriate. Right now, though, the time is appropriate for the Champions League. We've got the other half of our semifinals coming up here later today and tomorrow. First up is our PSG Dortmund second halfer. Dortmund, of course, is carrying in a 1-0 goal differential. And they're at Parc des Princes. And then the other one is Real Madrid and Bayern Munich. That one is a draw right now, 2-2. We're going to, where does Real Madrid play? Where do they play? I mean, I know they're in Spain.
The Bernabeu.
The Bernabeu, yeah, that's right. The Bernabeu.
It just reopened, I think, a month or 2 ago with their super nice. If you haven't looked it up, they have 8 levels of turf that they can recycle on like a conveyor belt.
Oh,
turf is always fresh.
Oh,
it's wild. It's wild.
I'm trying to comprehend that, and I can't.
Yeah, you should. If you're watching, look up an image of that, and it's wild. It's pretty cool.
Anyway, to the matches at hand, though, what do you think? Who do you think comes through on these two here?
For the PSG Dortmund one?
Yeah, for both of them. I mean, go ahead and get started. We can start with PSG and Dortmund, and we'll both talk about that in the other.
Yeah, I mean, they're playing this afternoon. Boy, I mean, Dortmund looked really good. I mean, offensively, they didn't as far as goal scoring, but if Sancho can play like he did, if their defense can stick with it, I really don't see how PSG is going to get a goal. I think they do, but I think it goes 1-1. I think Dortmund impressed me enough that I'm going to put them through, and I might regret that. But PSG, Dortmund played Mbappe excellently, similarly to how City did last year, where it's like, hey, we're going to play a high line. We're going to let them try to throw as many balls over the top as possible, but we're going to keep our fastest fullback kind of always at the ready just in case. And it worked out. So I think it goes 1-1, PSG Dortmund. Real Bayern, if there was ever one, again, to go into penalties, it would be this one. So I think after extra time, it'll be 2-2 again in this one. So 4-4 total. And I think Bayern wins 5-3 on penalties because it's too perfect. As we talked about last week, it's too perfect. The fact that Bayern and Dortmund have a chance to meet again in a final in London.
Yep.
So I think history is going to repeat itself. I think Germany is going to both be in it, and I think they're going to be playing each other again. But yeah, I think Bayern Real Madrid goes to extra time, goes to penalties. Bayern wins 5-3.
We're on the same page there for PSG and Dortmund. A lot of it does come down to, does Sancho play as well in this one as he did in the last one? Because he was a big part of their possession and keeping the ball moving towards PSG's side. And going back to that match, I mean, like we said at the time, like how that one stayed 1-0 the whole time is pretty crazy. I mean, there were a lot of great chances. This one I do think goes 1-1. But I think Dortmund scores first, which puts a lot of damper on the match. And PSG gets one back and starts scrambling, but Dortmund stays organized because they were very well organized throughout the match. I mean, PSG is talented enough that they had their opportunities, but they were able to cover the rebounds. They were able to keep their men marked so that there wasn't anybody who snuck through and could get something easy going. This one could very easily explode to like a 3-4 match, which was what we could have expected from the last one. But I think they'd keep it under wraps and move through to the next. For Real Madrid and Bayern, I think Real Madrid's just a better team. I think they take this 2-1 over Bayern. I think the music stops playing there for the German side, and I think that Kane. I almost called him Tin Kane. Hillary Clinton's former VP pick, Harry Kane. Harry Kane goes to Bayern and still doesn't get his trophy. And they lose 2-1, and it's a Real Madrid, an all yellow sort of final there with Real Madrid and Borussia Dortmund, which I think Real will take pretty easily. But we'll see. I mean, I'm excited. They were very good matches. Both of them were great matches last time. I think we'll probably have the same this time. But we'll see here later today and tomorrow, and then we'll have just the final left. I always think it's always funny if they play the final as a one and done. It's strange, but I don't think they'll ever change that. Anyway, that'll bring us to we'll go ahead and do it. We'll go ahead and I went back through all of our junk and all of our picks, and I compiled. We teased in the last one. I compiled everything back into a brand new spanking dandy spreadsheet of numbers and picks, and I balanced us against the favorite. So all these numbers are if you bet $1, you get this. If you bet $1, I compiled all the picks over the course of the year. So if you took each of our picks at $1, this is how much you would have made over the course of the year. And looking through it, we always talk about how you've been trailing me in our straight up picks through the year. That is true. It still holds true in raw pick totals. But your units, the units you've got over me in Premier League side is something to see. I mean, I'm currently at $176. If you bet $1 on each of my picks this year, you would have made $176.36. Now, if you just took the favorites in win, lose, and win, winner in the 3-result package, the win on either side and a draw, favorites would be currently. I'm looking at the wrong one. If you just picked favorites, you would have made $220.42. If you bet $1 on the favorite in each of the matches, I'd be at $180.87, and you'd be at $255.80 for units there. So the
Come
perfect.
to me if you want to win some money. Come over here.
However, you go over to the Champions League side. And in raw picks, I think, because that's still, I think, an interesting number. In raw picks, favorites are at 209 and 141. I'm at 153.97 with 27 perfect picks. And if you missed in the last episode, for perfect picks, we just double we came to the conclusion that just doubling the payout for it is a fair approximation, because we're not going to go back in and calculate if you bet for the exact result on each one with $1, because those results are crazy, and I don't think it's worth it to do that. So we just doubled the return for that one pick. So 27 perfect picks for the Champions League. You're at for the Premier League. You're at 25, and you're at 146 and 203 on picks total. So we don't always pick the favorites, is the long and the short of it, but when you move over to the Champions League, I am doing much better in that than you are. The favorites are only at 73.83 for the payout. So if you bet $1 on each of the favorites, you'd be at 73.83. They would be 72.50. Your results are 55 and 67 total with 7 perfect picks and results of 8109 in a payout. I am at 63 and 59 with 114.78 as my payout. So I'm beating you by quite a bit in there. And then so as far as adding it all together, I currently, if you go across all the picks that we've made this year, which is a lot, for Champions League and Premier League, I am beating the favorites units wise. I'm at $295.65, almost $300. The favorites are at $294.25, so I'm beating them by a whole $1.40. It was a great result, and you've got both of us beat by 40 units, so you're at 336.89. So the odds of me catching you units wise, not great. I'm gonna have to pull some pretty big picks out here in the last little bit. But that's why, I always had the perception. You were always trailing me, but I always had the perception. I feel like you're making better picks, though. I think the units then go to show that you were making higher quality picks than I was.
I may have gone 3 and 7, but those 3 every week were big.
Big.
Those 3 still made me some dough.
Well, that's why I was ragging on you for not picking Arsenal, not picking Liverpool all season long. It's the long play. He's trying to go bang for the buck there. So all those small unit hits that he's taking when they're favorited, at minus 250. I did it in decimal units just because it's way easier to track that way. But yeah, there's some really, we have individual weeks. We had some crazy individual weeks. You had a $26 week. There it is. Matchday 18. You went 6-3 with 2 perfect picks. Those 2 perfect picks being the Liverpool and Arsenal draw and Luton Town beating Newcastle. That was a huge one for you. $26. We bet $1 on each of his results. And basically, you would have gotten 26.37. 2 of those are perfect picks, so it's a little bit different. And then you also had a $24 weekend on Matchday 30 relatively recently. And of course, all my good ones are down with the Champions League sides, where I got a $25 day back on Matchday 3, the last match of the first half of the group stage. I had 3 perfect picks 4 perfect picks that match day. Wow. I didn't remember that. And then there were also some really sad match days where, we went, I think we both went 2-8 a couple times. Let's see, where are those? There was that's a rough one. Where match day 15, you went 2-8 and lost $4 that week. The only hits you had were Wolves beating Burnley and Fulham beating Nottingham Forest. Yeah, not a good match day there. I had some of my own that were not very good. Where's that? 272. There's another 364 by you. I don't know. Very interesting results. This will be much easier to track next year when we're back. We'll have it much more organized for that. So. Yeah, hey, you put $1 down on everything we're saying, you'll be making money, bros.
Put $10 down, you'll be making a lot more money.
Yeah, I mean, but wait till like halfway through the season when you've already made you $100. You only want to put in $10 at the beginning of the season, and we'll just grow you from there. You want to keep it cool, want to keep it respectable, want to keep it nice, and what is it? They practice safe bets. I think that's the pun, right? Want to make sure we're practicing safe bets.
I mean, let's just go through the stats here. The stock market averages 7% returns per year. Have you seen the returns that we're at 340x for my picks? So who's the stock market? We are the Z and K.
Oh,
we're not the S&P 500. This coffee right here, liquid gold.
That's right. And you know what? You can have your Velveeta and eat it too. The liquid gold.
So what we're saying is work hard this summer. Don't stack some extra cash.
Stack some extra cash so you've got those sweet $10 left so that you can start the next season with us, and we'll see where we end up after that. But before we truly get out of here, because that was a long breakdown of something that you'll probably skip over anyways. Before we get out of here, we do need to get our trivia question on the docket for this week. So, what you got for us?
This is a good one. I'm excited for this one. Which team conceded the most goals in a Premier League season?
Which team?
It's been a long time since a team got to 100. After this last match week, Sheffield now sits at 100.
Wow.
They're only the second team ever to get to 100. But who's the other team who currently holds that record? The hint, they're no longer in the Premier League. I don't even know what league they're in. But no longer in the Premier League. That's the trivia question.
I got one. I don't know if they've ever been in the Premier League, though. Mainly because it's just I know they're not in the Premier League, and I don't know which league they're in either. So that means they're probably not in Division 2. Division 2. What is this? College soccer. They're not in the championship. So let's see. Well, I don't know. Everybody think about it. Timestamp your guesses down below. Drop your comment. Drop your link. Drop your like. Drop your subscribe. Ring the bell. All that good YouTube jazz. And until we see you again, go ahead and grab some coffee, watch some soccer, and we'll see you on the other side.